Hello, and welcome. This is it. The first ever season of Apprentice Virtual culminates in this grand finale. We race around the streets of Battersea Park in central London, played host to two Formula E races at the end of the 2014-15 and 2015-16 seasons. The race was cancelled for future years after complaints from the locals, but here in the virtuals world we've managed to bring it back 20 odd years later, bit more than that. We are here in Battersea Park racing for the very last race of Apprentice Virtual. You might say, what is there to race for? Last week we had the double header featuring the races in Alton Park and Broad Oak, and both those races saw teams take their second victory, securing themselves automatic promotion. Well, dear viewer, let me tell you, we've just had confirmation that at least two teams in Ultimate Virtual will be closing at the end of the season. If you follow Ultimate Virtuals, I'm sure many of you do, you'll be aware there is only one relegation spot. That means that we will have to promote at least one extra team from the division below. That then has a bit of a chain effect, meaning we will eventually see teams from AV promoted to JV to fill extra slots, and therefore third place in the championship by points will take, or rather the highest point scoring team other than Nacho Racing and NASA Aries will take that third and final promotion spot. There is still definitely something to play for. On top of that, well, let's look at the upgrades first. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The upgrades, as it was coming into this final week, NASA Aries and Nacho Racing, of course, don't really need much here. They can help their drivers have a good shot at the World Championship with Experial leading. Duel only a point off him. But fundamentally, they're setting their cars up for next season. They know they're a genuine virtual. The cars will obviously have to undergo some minor modifications to suit the regulations of genuine virtual, but broadly, that is how the cookie will crumble. As for the other three teams, vital upgrade periods to try and secure that third place spot, which has now turned into a promotion spot. Shock Motorsports failing to get a speed upgrade, close, but no cigar. It was acceleration for Amoir and grip for Canis Virtuosi. We have not long left here, so I'll run you very quickly through our team overview. Nacho sit top of the championship, tied with Canis Virtuosi, but Aries sitting in third at the other promoted team. That means that Canis, being 13 points ahead of Amoir, are the clear, strong favourites to take that promotion spot on points. Nacho have the most upgrades out of any team. That is the end of this qualifying session. Let's see as the drivers cross the line. Will we see any big improvements at the top? Quiche currently on to take provisional pole in the Canis Virtuosi. I think we might just see him do it. And it will be Quiche in the Canis Virtuosi car who takes pole position. That single point for pole may be absolutely huge. As a reminder, Quiche has actually done really well this season. 3 podiums, a pole position the opening race. The only race in which he wasn't on the podium was Alton Park, where he finished 8th. But other than that, he's been on the podium. Not managed to win a race yet, though. So we'll have to see how this shakes out. But that single point has a twofold effect. And I'm going to very quickly demonstrate this to you. Quiche tied on points at the top of the championship, but losing on tiebreak, goes 1 point ahead of Experial and leads the championship after that qualifying session. Very similar to the circumstances surrounding the 2016 Formula E Season 2 finale at the circuit, with Sebastian Buemi taking the championship lead through virtue of taking pole position. Then 3/10 back was Hupov. The other big factor here is that means Canis Virtuosi do the exact same thing as Quiche does. They were also tied at the top of the championship, 0 points off the championship lead as Nacho Racing, but losing on tiebreak through having not won a race, just the same as Quiche up against Experial. They take 1 point, they go to 54 points, putting them in the World Championship lead for this Apprentice Virtual playoff season. So they have gone top of both championships as a result of only the single point from qualifying. That is actually hilarious. Right. The rest of the grid is as follows. Hupov will start on the front row of the grid for Amoir Racing. He is one of few drivers who is mathematically out of championship contention. even Gold Plays is still in it. Technically, he would need the win and the fastest lap of the race, but he would win it provided that. Oh, I'm not even sure that he can actually, because Keish and Experial are both guaranteed points, at least one or two for them. So I think he is realistically out of it though. But it is the top six as we look at it in the drivers' standings, who are still in competition here. Keish now on 30 points, Experial on 29, Duel on 28, Nandos Good on 25, 24 for Wojtek Summerhut, and 23 for Charlie. Almost a perfect sort of linear countdown. Still, wow, quite something. Yes. Duel, one of our championship contenders, starts third. Experial and Bubbles, two championship contenders, starting fourth and fifth. Nandos, another championship contender, starting sixth. Then Samahut, seventh. Charlie, eighth. Pilatos and Gold plays ninth and 10th. Yes, the only drivers out of championship contention. Gold plays and Pilatos, both Shock Motorsports cars officially out. Actually, no, Bubbles is out of championship contention despite that win early in the season. He's had a disastrous season. Mathematically, he no longer can win this driver's title, and nor can Hupov starting on the front row. Nothing to lose for him, everything to gain for the Amwar team. It's a massive uphill battle, especially now with Canis Virtuosi taking that pole point. They would need, Amwar that is, pretty much for a double podium with Canis Virtuosi to score essentially no points for them to stand any chance. For Shock Motorsports, they may even be mathematically out of it, or at least very close to being so. At the least, well, if Shock Motorsports do, shockingly, from the back row of the grid, take a 1-2 and the fastest lap of the race, they'll score 20 points. Canis Virtuosi will score minimum of 3. Shock Motorsports will win it on a tie break. No, they won't, because Canis Virtuosi are now 18 points ahead, so Shock Motorsports are officially out of contention for that final promotion spot. It is officially Canis Virtuosi versus Amwar, and this will be one of the most difficult things that Amwar racing team will ever have had to do in their short time in the virtual leagues. I cannot wait for this race. It should be an absolute corker. Here we go then. It was the first ever Apprentice Virtual Playoffs. This is the final race. We are underway. It's a great start for Keish. No big time one crash looking like on the way down, but Duel does get through on Hupov, Bubbles and Experial side by side in the background as Experial squeezes out his teammate. That gives Samahut the means to get through on him. Bubbles shuffled all the way down into 7th position. Nados Good right on the tail of Experial as they come through this very difficult section. Duel and Hupov managed to find their way through it just fine, but Keish will lead by a small margin over the American driver in 2nd place. Polish, American, British podium at the moment. Experial looking to put a little bit of influence on it. Nandos Good still in 5th place. We're getting a really tight fight up top. Hupov through on Duel, back into 2nd place. This is a very narrow circuit, not much room for error here either. These drivers have to be really careful, but overtaking is possible, and we can see it there. Duel, a really nice move in this duel against Hupov. He goes back up into 2nd position. Experial, Nandos, Wojtek, Charlie now throwing Bubbles, who drops down to 8th position on the grid from where he started up in sort of 4th place. Pilatos and Gold plays down at the very back. They are I think it is fair to say that they've come off worst out of any team in this championship, unfortunately for them, because, you know, they did stand certain chances. They've looked promising at certain points as well. The Gold plays surprise pole position, of course, in Glasgow was a particular highlight of their season, and his 4th place finish in Alton Park also a really strong result. But other than that, it's been poor for Shock Motorsports. They're going to regroup next season in Apprentice Virtual, and they're going to have to try and do a bit better than that. Keish leads. He's got a really nice gap now. This is basically dominating for him because he now leads the championship by a point. This means as long as he wins the race, or even as long as he beats Experial in the race, he is pretty much guaranteed the title. The only slight caveat to that is that Duel is 2 points behind him, and I believe would have the tiebreak over him if Keish doesn't win the race, because obviously if Keish does win the race, he is guaranteed it. Yeah, Duel has the 1 win, Keish doesn't. So Keish can't let that 2 point gap slip to Duel. What he can do is finish 2nd behind Duel. So he might be interested in giving up this position. I think that's exactly what he's going to do here on lap 6 of 23. He's giving up the lead to Quiche because he knows that all he needs to do is finish second place. Axperial comes under more pressure from Nandasgood, who, remember, is in this fight. Yes, he might be a bit of an outside shot, being 5 points behind the championship leader with all these drivers so tight up ahead of him. But he really can stand a chance here. Axperial goes through. Meanwhile, still a fight going on. Keisha's back into the lead. He just needs to make sure he doesn't lose time here. He really slams Duel into the wall. This isn't productive battling. What Quiche can do is finish in second, let Duel win, and, well, Quiche holds the fastest lap as well. Removing the fastest lap as a factor, Quiche would get 9 points for second place finish, putting him on 39 at the end of the season. Duel would get 10, putting him only on 38, so losing by a point. And third place Axperial would finish off with 8 points, putting him on 37. So, you know, he'd still be able to take victory here. But obviously, Quiche not winning this race would lose any tiebreak to Duel or Axperial. Axperial winning the last race in Broad Oak by a really healthy margin, and Duel winning the first race in Silverstone similarly. So he needs to really be careful with how he plays this game if he wants that spot. Meanwhile, Samahat on course to score good points. Obviously, Quiche, the other Canis Virtuosi driver, yeah, even if, you know, maximum points that Anwar can take is 20. Oof, big wall hit there actually. I'm not going to think about minimum points for Canis, but broadly, yeah, if they get this position, they'll be absolutely fine. They need to not be outscored by like 15 points. Into the pit. It's a very long pit lane here. And you can see, yeah, it's a good like 20 seconds of time loss actually. So it can really, really make a difference in this race. Samahat now leads because into the pit lane has been everyone. Oh my gosh, look at this. Axperial has caught really closely up to the back of them now. So they all would have pitted. Oh, Axperial came in, I think, a lap earlier. That does make sense in my mind, yes. Samahat still leads, he's not pitted. Charlie in second, he's not pitted. Then it's Duel, then it's Quiche, then it's Axperial. Currently, the fastest lap would play a massive part in deciding this. This sees Quiche win the championship on 39, 38 for Duel, 37 for Axperial. However, Quiche with the fastest lap would win the championship a bit more emphatically on 40 points, but he cannot let his opposition steal that fastest lap point away from him. Otherwise, Duel doing that would take the title. Gosh, it's so tight here. Fantastic fight in the World Drivers' Championship. The top three in the championship battling it out in the top three positions in this finale. It's not something that you really see that often across these different virtual leagues. Often you'll see the big championship protagonists start to just let it slip a little bit towards the end. So Quiche, let's see, if he finished in third place, he'd get 8 points. That would see him take 38. Axperial finishing in second place would get 9 points, which would see him also finish on 38. He'd win on that tiebreak, having won last race, but Quiche, with the fastest lap, would actually then pull himself onto 39, which is Duel would be on 38 as well. Oh my god, they could all tie for 38. As it stands, though, Quiche only leads the title by 1 point. How close is this? Duel is on 38 points. And ignoring the fastest lap for a second, Duel will be on 38 points. Axperial will be on 38 points. Quiche will be on 38 points. We could have a three-way tie for the title if Quiche doesn't keep this fastest lap of the race, at which point the tie-break, and we'll flash up the drivers' standings because it's really interesting to see. Axperial and Duel both have a first place, both have a third place finish, so it would have to come down. I mean, obviously, actually, it would come down to the fact that Duel would win this race and therefore get on tie-break. Duel getting massively slowed up, though, by Pilatos. It's a very narrow circuit. Axperial goes into the race lead, pulls himself up to 39 points. Quiche, with the 9 he's currently on course to score, will only be on 39 himself. Axperial, as it stands, is in a position from which he can win the World Drivers' Championship even without the fastest lap point. Incredible. He's on 39 points, scoring 10 so far in this race. Quiche scored the 1 for pole position, currently looks to score the 1 fastest lap, but he's lost another position now to Yupov. It was such a good start for the Polish driver. Now it looks like the title may completely flip on its head. It's going the way, as it stands, of the Finn, who came into this round leading the championship, lost it after qualifying, but with just 6 laps remaining in this race, he could really be on to do it. This would be something very, very special indeed. It's just not worked out for Quiche in this second stint. He would need an almighty final few laps here to catch up and perform. Duel is in though for a second pit stop. My oh my, without the race win, there wasn't really going to be any chance that he'd win it. Even then, Experial, I think, would win on countback via virtue of more 4th place finishes or something ridiculous. But Duel Pit is down to 6th position. The swings and roundabouts come. Oh no, Quiche gets stuck behind gold plays with the penalty. That's unbelievable. So, as it stands now, Quiche in 3rd place, on to score 9 points, remember, with the fastest lap of the race, but would still lose the title on countback to Experial. However, if he can overtake Yupov, who, remember, is completely out of championship contention, just 1 finish in the top 7 this season, that was his P2 in Alton Park. Quiche needs this overtake badly. He's only got 4 laps to do it. Experial, from what was a really poor position earlier on in the race, is now basically guaranteed the race win. But Quiche just needs to catch up to this driver who's had a really disappointing season. Still, he's really heavily involved in this championship fight. Samahart mathematically in it, realistically out of it. Same thing with Charlie and Duel with that second pit stop. Nando's good as well. Nacho Racing have thrown away a potential title. Duel was in a difficult position already because he has inferior countback coming into this round to Experial and 2 points behind Quiche as well. Quiche really needs this overtake. No real close battles going on further afield. Wojtek getting passed by Charlie now, who's racking up some good points for Amoir. It won't be enough. I mean, Quiche's P3 alone will secure Canis Virtuosi that spot, but this is still very much a fight on as we go to the penultimate lap of the race. Experial leads. He comes up to lap his teammate now, who isn't making it all that easy for the Finnish driver. Yupov in 2nd, Quiche in 3rd. Gosh, it's really going to be difficult to call this. Quiche needs to get the move on here. Reminder, he's on course to score 8 points from the race, 1 from fastest lap and 1 from pole position. That takes him up from his pre-round total of 29 all the way to 39. Experial taking this win would do the same thing, but via virtue of tiebreak would end up with 2 wins to Quiche's 0, the world champion. It's so close still behind, but Quiche isn't making the inroads that he needs to be. It's a 5-second gap out ahead as he comes through the final corners here. Experial has done all that he can to become this first world champion. It will all come down to this final corner, and Quiche hasn't done enough. It is the Flying Finn, champion of Apprentice Virtual in the 7th season, in this first inaugural season of Apprentice Virtual. The season of spring is won by the Finn, and that is a fantastic way for the team to finish off their season. NASA Aries, I believe, also topped the championship by doing that. My oh my, what a dramatic finish to that race. Pun somewhat intended. Gosh, it really looked like Quiche had it totally under wraps, but he just faded away when it really mattered at the very end. And as we see Pilatos Olympi across the line, we'll go through these final results of the season. Experial, after 10 minutes and 54 seconds of racing, is the race winner, and by extension, despite not taking fastest lap nor pole position in this race, wins the World Drivers' Championship on countback. Unbelievable. 39 points apiece for Quiche and Experial, nothing to separate them in the end. apart from the number of race wins taken by the Finnish driver of the NASA Ares team. That secures NASA Ares' third win of the season, really flourishing in style, so even if they had dropped one of the earlier two, they are still, or would have still, been guaranteed automatic promotion. Hupel finished second, sort of, I don't know why, but actually an amazing result for the Amwell Racing team. Genuinely, really quite incredible, but they only ended up beating Canis Virtuosi by a single point. That wasn't nearly enough to take the points that they needed. Maybe if a fourth team goes up, they are more than guaranteed that, especially after a shocking performance from Shock Motorsports, who looked so badly off the pace today. I mean, really, really poor. It's an incredible gap that they just did not bring a car worthy of the playoffs, and they came here. It has been pretty much a four-car fight up and down the field. They end the season as well with, oh gosh, I mean, nothing, pretty much. Yeah, they end the season with no podiums, one pole position to their name, and that's it. Keish third place, fastest lap in pole position, but it just wasn't enough for him. He needed that P2, and he was only just over a second off it in the end. Charlie comes home in fourth, Wojtek in fifth. Jewel, after the late pit stop, threw away any chances that he had at the title. It would have been difficult anyways, though. He would have needed to beat Axperial by a couple of positions, so he would have needed Keish to get in there as well, and that wasn't looking very likely. Nandesgood, 7th place behind his American teammate, 8th place for Bubbles, 9th for Gold Place, 10th for Pilatos. That means that Axperial is your World Drivers' Championship of this inaugural Apprentice Virtual Playoffs. And your three promoted teams, as confirmed last week, were Nacho Racing and NASA Ares, and as confirmed this week is Canis Virtuosi. What a season it has been. Thank you so much for joining, not just me, but also Kubo, through all of those races in AV USA, in Circuit of the Americas, Long Beach, Mid-Ohio, and Watkins Glen, in AV Germany, through all of those races, Hockenheim, the Sachsenring, the Lausitzring, and the Nürburgring. Each of these playoff drivers have done 9 very exciting and action-packed Grand Prix or A-Prix on their way to the end of this inaugural campaign. So thank you for all of the teams that participated, all of the drivers that participated, and all of you for watching. We will return for the next season of Apprentice Virtual in a little bit. But for now, thanks for watching, and bye-bye.